Hello, Josette.
Well, hi, Matt, and welcome everybody to the Makers podcast. We're very excited to have you with us this week.
Very excited. We had such a fun time with our guest this week.
Well, and for our first episode, I think it was like obviously the perfect person, the person who is the reason we're friends. I think that makes a lot of sense. But also just a person with a lot of magic and a lot of soul and a real journey of self-discovery and becoming and stepping into power, which I just obviously am obsessed with. And yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this conversation with the wonderful, exceptionally talented Amanda Payton.
Knowing her from many, many years ago as her career was just beginning, and now where it's at and where it is going, it has just been so exciting to see her career trajectory.
Yeah.
And to always hear people, because I didn't mention this in the conversation, but I get texts from people. I saw Amanda on XYZ show. Was that her or whatever? You know, I get that. And it's so much fun to have that excitement around somebody's career, especially when it's an actor who's doing it.
Yeah, let's say it's nice to be cool by association.
Very cool.
That's what you are. That's literally what you are now, cool by association. No, you're cool in your own right, Matt. Don't worry. You really
I'll take
are.
association all day long. It's better than not being cool. Definitely.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, you can see Amanda currently on Code 404 on Peacock, as well as on United States of Al, and then Chicago PD as well. So she's been in a lot of things, but those are the things that you can find her on right now.
And if you haven't, if you're still not over the Christmas spirit, A Fiancé for Christmas was her Lifetime movie, and by all accounts, an absolutely gorgeous Christmas movie. So yeah, that's another place to catch her.
Not to mention early Amanda in The Beginners, starring Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer. I loved her in that movie.
Oh my God. Well, yes, please rewatch that. I mean, what a great movie.
Hacks.
She's extraordinary in Hacks. Oh my gosh.
Such a good show. So it's so much fun to see her, and we had such a good time talking to her. So please enjoy this conversation with Amanda Payton. Hi, Amanda.
Hey,
Hello, Amanda.
good to see you guys.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Very exciting. First of all, congratulations,
Oh, thank you.
married lady.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time I'm seeing you as a married woman.
Oh, I know. So now I have a double ring, which I can't show anybody except for you guys. But see the one ring
my
and then the
God.
two.
As if she didn't have the most obnoxiously beautiful engagement ring. Now it's like it looks even better. That's ridiculous, dude.
No.
I'm turning green. I'm turning green.
I also have a husband.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I'm like, yeah, now I have two rings. That's all. That's the only difference.
Did the husband come with the ring?
The husband gave me the rings. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So for those of you who don't know, yeah, Amanda just got back from her wedding in Mexico, in Paradise, aka Paradise. Yeah.
And I don't have COVID. It's truly
That is a miracle.
that was my goal. That was my one goal. I was like, get married, don't get COVID. And both of those have been a wild success. So
Good thing it wasn't the opposite. Get COVID. Don't get
married. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's so exciting. It was such a beautiful wedding, you guys's, and I couldn't believe, as a person who has done wedding videos in the past, that you had like a wedding video like the next day. Were they just hanging out editing all night long, or what?
They were like, for an extra $60, they were trying to upsell us everything. And they were like, for an extra $60, we could do a wedding video. And we were both like, no. And then we were like, wait, what is it? And they were like, yeah, just like a quick, video. And we were like, all right, fine. And it ended up being like the best $60 we've ever spent, because it was beautiful. They picked a song randomly and it was like the perfect song. And then they got it to us in like 12 hours.
I must say, I was shocked. I was like, how is their wedding already on Instagram when like they literally just walked down the aisle? Like, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Like that footage was beautiful.
I have no idea how they did that
So
magic,
amazing.
honestly.
So this is really special, actually, that you're the first person on our podcast, because obviously the only reason I know Matt Jackson is because of Amanda Payton. So it's pretty perfect that you're our first guest.
Oh, I'm honored to be your first guest.
Yeah, so I guess we wanted to have you on because, we've both witnessed your journey and seen how you've gone from a creative talent to now a wildly successful, known creative talent, and a person who we both think is just someone we admire and who we love and obviously appreciate. And yeah, we just want to kind of pick your brain and hear about how you work.
That means so much coming from you guys. Thank you. Yeah.
It's been so great, like so amazing from where you and I met, which would have been like 6 or 7 years ago, probably.
Yeah, 6 years
when
ago.
you and Aaron started dating. So Amanda's now husband is one of my best friends from childhood. So that's how we met. And I think the first time was at that 4th of July party or something crazy like that. And I don't remember if I knew or didn't know at the time that you were an actor or not. But to sort of have known, when we talked about it obviously at the party at that point, but to see like that day to where things are at now is phenomenal and so exciting.
That's so funny to reflect on because, from this end, it just feels like one day at a time, like one step forward at a time. So it's interesting to like have a moment to sit and reflect on the difference that, 6 years makes.
It's huge.
When it truly just feels like literally one step in front of the other.
It's so amazing because I know you've spoken about that. Like, it's something that we've spoken about a lot. Obviously, I've had the privilege of knowing you for 9 years now, actually, which is wild to think. Like, Amanda was literally you're nearly a whole decade of my life. Yeah. But yeah, Amanda was literally like one of my first friends in Los Angeles. Like when I moved to this strange, unknown country and I didn't know anybody. A month into my journey, I stepped into an acting class and inherited this divine being. It's just been a really treasured friendship in my life, especially because, I think there's something really incredible about, especially with creativity and with creative pursuits, is like this feeling of being witnessed. And I just feel like that's what's part of the magic of this relationship, is I just feel like you've witnessed a lot of me and I've witnessed a lot of you. And so, yeah, you finally stepping into success.
Well, more than witness, I mean, I feel like you've been instrumental in getting where I am now.
Oh my gosh, Amanda.
I remember just like going over to your house and like working on every audition. I couldn't go to an audition without working on it with Josette for a while. It was like Dumbo and the Feather a little bit. Like if it was one line and I knew exactly how I was going to do it, I'd still stop by Josette's house on the way over to do it. So I run it by her so she could literally just be like, great,
It's so funny. Matt, you don't know this, but we still do this where we share our self-tapes with each other because...
Oh yeah, just last night I was like, which take?
Yeah, because it's also this thing of like, it's such a strange thing, especially with this template of acting in Los Angeles, where it's like your acting really is just self-taping unless you're on a set. And so, it's just so nice that our self-tapes go somewhere. We have an audience, it's like I do one and I send it over and Amanda's like, oh, cool, what'd you do with this? Or like, how did that go? It's just like, it feels like it's a bit more fun that way. Oh, man.
It makes a fun story too, because... as the jobs come through and the jobs are gotten, it's fun to be like, hey, I was there for the self-tape. It's super, it's a fun
And it is
story.
funny how often I'll see a self-tape and be like, oh my God, you're definitely going to book this. And then she does. Because it's like, it's often very obvious, like what makes sense.
Or let's be real, how many times you go, oh my God, you're definitely going to book this. And then I don't. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because, it's interesting to see that, like, I can do an incredible self-tape or you can do an incredible self-tape and it just doesn't go our way. And then we can do one that we feel like is mediocre and then it does go our way. So it's just all so subjective.
It's so true.
And it's helpful to see that. For me, like when I put in a lot of work to a self-tape and don't get any traction back, and then the next day, Josette sends me a self-tape that I think is like the best work she's ever done and incredible, and then she doesn't get any traction, it makes me realize like it's just really not always about the quality of work. Whereas like if I'm not getting that reflected back to me from someone else, I can turn it on myself. Because I do think that like it's important for artists to look at their stats and look at their numbers and see what's happening. And like, if you feel like you're doing incredible work and you are never getting anywhere, something is going on. And I think that that's like something that's really helped me to progress is like being brutally honest with myself like that. But, you know, on the other end, you can be putting out great work and not getting traction for a whole host of reasons. So when I see, you know, Josette do like incredible work and then it not go her way, it just reassures me for when that happens to me that it's not always on the actor.
It's so often not. I mean, you're so right. It's interesting because it makes me think about this notion of like power and like, especially, you know, in your creative pursuits and as an artist in this town, like I'm interested in like how you find power in your situation, or how you feel like you kind of can own your voice and your creativity within this template.
So that's a tough question in the auditioning world because there's just so much self-reassurance there. The position that I'm in now, it's a little bit easier because I'm also on sets and I'm getting external validation as well. But there were and have been and still probably will continue to be periods of time where it's all me in a little room. And that's a new thing too, because before COVID, we were going into rooms and we were able to interact with people and we were able to feel the energy, and like you could go in and feel like, oh, that felt really good and it was fun and my work was appreciated. And if I don't book it, that's fine. Like I left it in there and I could feel the human connection. And now we're in a room with a friend or a computer and sending it out over the airwaves, and we don't know if someone connects with it. So I guess, you know, to answer the question, it's a tough question, but part of it is even like sending the self-tapes to you, Josette. You know, getting to talk about the work rather than booking the job or not.
Oh my God.
Because when we send self-tapes to each other, we get to talk about the work a little bit. Like, oh, what was the breakdown? Oh, that was an interesting choice. Oh, well, you know, I mean, the one yesterday, I was like, you know, well, she's a trophy wife. So I really leaned into that, and they didn't say that in the breakdown, and like to get a reflection back about it and to like kind of start to have fun with it. It's hard to do by yourself, but this is an art of connection. So it helps me, that helps me, as well as like being in class, you know, like all of the stuff where we get to talk about the art rather than just booking the job or not.
It's so interesting because it's so beautiful the way you answered that, because it's funny, we've had conversations before about this where it's like, you know, Amanda's always been like, I've been pursuing this since it wasn't cool. You know, she's like, I've been doing this when like it wasn't cool, when it was like you were a nerdy theater kid, because it's like you went there to go and find space for yourself in the theater, you know, like a little black box. And then it's like suddenly it became really cool to like pursue acting and become an influencer and be famous. But it's like you've never really been pursuing the symptoms of excellence. You've always been pursuing the excellence of the craft. And I think that's so interesting. Like, I wonder if you can tell everybody sort of how you got started in the theater.
You know, you kind of also have to look at the fact that it does come along with visibility. Do you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to look at, like, I'm not in New York or Washington, or, you know, I'm not pursuing a black box theater career. I am in LA, and a symptom of success is visibility. So I think it's also important to kind of come to terms with that, because otherwise you'll just self-sabotage yourself right out of it. So to see the shadow side of that, to see like, I never felt cool as a kid. I just didn't. And I wasn't a cool kid because I was really into musical theater and stuff. So there is a big part of me that wants to be recognized as being cool. And let me fully own that.
We hope you love listening to the Makers podcast as much as we love making it.
And if you would like to show your support and keep us going and keep us making magic and bringing these gorgeous creative conversations to you, perhaps you'd consider becoming a contributor to the Makers podcast. If you'd like to do so,
visit anchor.fm/themakers/support to get started. And now, back to the show. The reason that you're going into it is because you love it so much.
Yeah, I think it would be very short-lived if you were in it just for fame, because it wouldn't be worth the last 15 years of my life. What is that? You know, if you're just in it for the fame or the money, then like, is it worth, like, it'd be easier to just be something different. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Much easier.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean,
and ultimately it turns out I don't even like red carpets and stuff like that. Like, I hate
turns out,
you know, it looks good on TV, but turns out I don't like doing that.
And I wonder how much less we like that kind of stuff. I was talking about it. I saw major guilty pleasure is Selling Sunset.
Oh my God, Matt, that's hilarious.
And it's, it's crazy. So I'm watching it with Sarah, my girlfriend, and we're like, and it's party after party after party after cocktail party. And I was just like, I don't want to do cocktail parties anymore. I don't like these things. What happened to us in the last couple of years too? I mean, for a lot of those of us who probably would label ourselves as introverts, we'd never really wanted to, but kind of did it anyway. But it also felt like it was a signal of success. And now it's almost like the coin is flipped. And now it's like, okay to be more like, I'd rather just, do the self tapes, watch it on TV and
oh my
call
God,
it a day.
yes.
Like that just sounds more fun.
I could party when I was like drinking and doing drugs, but then I'm sober now, so I can't.
Well, I think that's also the thing too, is it's like, if you're having to drink to stay at the party, like, you probably shouldn't be at the party, honey. I'm like, oh my God, go home.
Yeah. Most people, are drinking to stay at the
Listen,
party.
I do it.
I mean,
I'm definitely guilty of it. Like, there's that time where you feel like you've got to like push your energy forward, and it's like you've got to rally.
Dude, it's so much energy.
It's so much energy. It's such a commitment. I'm interested in, Amanda studied at Carnegie Mellon, which obviously most people know is a wildly prestigious place of acting, and it's got a lot of history and a lot of how we even say it, it's like a prescribed way of working in theatre, right? I mean, it comes with a lot. And I'm interested in your journey from being in that world and kind of learning a way to be with your craft, and then kind of transitioning or finding your own way, what that looked like.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to completely relearn what acting was to me. I mean, when I got out, it wasn't, we were theater trained too, and it's a bit different than film and TV. It's very different than film and TV. And people say, like, if you can't do theater, you won't be able to do film and TV. And I don't think that's true. I mean, I think that you can learn one or the other. You can. The basis of acting is like truthfully sitting with your emotions and, telling a story. So yes, you need to be able to do that, but there are a lot of skills that you need in film and TV that are separate than theater and vice versa. So I kind of just had to learn what the beast of film and TV is. And also, at first it was just learning how to audition. Yeah. Which is a completely different thing, because it's, that was, I mean, it still is probably, so I've been working pretty consistently for the last 2 years, most months working on set, thank God, which is like so crazy incredible to even say, to reflect back. But I'm still, I'd say over 50% of the acting that I'm doing is auditioning. So it's its own storytelling, it's its own skill, and it takes a while to learn, and to learn to skate the line of what they are looking for and what you want to tell, what story you want to tell. People say, like, don't focus on what they're looking for, but I find for me, and maybe I'll grow beyond this, but right now I'm at a place where, well, you gotta pay some attention to that, because let's say I'm doing a multicam. Well, what they're looking for, even what they're looking for in the shot of the audition, like how close up they are on, or how close up I put the camera to my face, tells a different story for multicam than single cam. So there's a bit of, well, they want to know if I can hit a joke. And there's this joke here. And if I book this part, I can play with this joke, but it's an audition and they want to know that I can hit this 1, 2, 3 joke. So I'm going to show them that I can. And then when I book the part, I'll play with it.
Right.
And I'll give a couple options. And they might end up using one of the other options that are less obvious in editing. But because it's an audition and I pay attention to what they want as well as the story that I want to tell, I know that they want to see that I can hit this joke. Or they want to see, because I've been working mostly in multicams and single cam comedies, and this is a drama, they want to see that I can get there emotionally, 100% tears, snot, all of it. They want to see that I can go there, even though I think the character wouldn't let loose that much. So then when I get on set, then I'll give them some nuance.
So do you feel like that auditioning, I mean, it obviously sounds like it's painting in a sandbox, right? I mean, we can agree it's like that is a box that you have to paint within. Do you have?
But that doesn't mean not painting outside of the line.
Right, that's what I wanted to say. So how do you bring in your creativity in that regard? Like, how are you sort of bringing your magic into it?
Honestly, that's just like intuition and trial and error, I'd say. Like I've made some swings that are probably like not great. I mean, you've seen all my auditions, right? So like before we were doing self-tapes at home, really, I had an audition for something in England and I had to do a self-tape because I'm not going to fly to England. So I did the self.
Where's your sense of commitment, damn it?
I ate a salad in the self-tape. And that at that time for me was like, whoa, right? Like I had salad in my teeth. I was spitting salad sometimes. It was not like meat and it was not prescribed. And some casting directors would probably hate it because we were being told like, don't bring props into an audition. But I'm like, this is at my house and like, I want to eat the salad while I'm doing it. So I did it. I tried it and I ended up booking that part. Now there's plenty of stories where I don't end up booking that part, but this is one where I did. And then the character became like obsessed with breakfast cereal. Like the writers like saw the salad, loved the salad, made her obsessed with like eating. The first season, I like secretly was like, I'm going to eat in every scene. And then the writers like picked up on it, that she's like a nervous eater. And then, so that's an example of me painting outside of the box, but it was really just like intuition and it almost backfired because I was shooting it with my mom and she was at my house and like, we didn't want to leave the house to like go get like lunch necessarily. And she was like, just do it without that. And like, just eat something here, like eat a sandwich here. And I was like, no, I really want a salad.
Oh my God, it's so great.
So like, okay, let's go schlep in the car and like go get a salad, you know, and I'm so glad I did, but it's just like it was like synchronicity of like, I was hungry. I was craving a salad. I thought, oh, a salad would be good for this. So, you know, it's not like a prescribed answer. Like it's intuition, it's chance. It's just like not being afraid to try things.
I love that you're calling it intuition though. Cause I mean, I was saying this to Matt last week where I was just like, where does this come from? You know, the question plagues me of like, where does our creativity come from? Like, I feel like it is.
Like a little whisper. It's a little whisper.
So I love that and then I love that your whisper then translates into like, basically a collaborative thing because it's like that then translates to breakfast cereal. The writers pick up on it. And it's like, and suddenly it becomes the whole thing. Like that's so delicious.
You can't put out anything in the world and have other people not pick up on it. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like there is no amount, people pick up on your energy. Like just, it becomes collaborative. Everything does. You can't do anything and like have it be an isolated thing.
It's so true.
Yeah, we're gonna call that the salad whisper from now on, whatever it is. Well, it's interesting because we've talked a lot now about auditioning, and I think that that's super amazing for any actor, whether you're starting or in the middle of it, or if you still have to audition, no matter what level you're at, because it is in and of itself its own world. It's its own little experience and craft and everything that you have to do. I remember when you had put together your self-tape area, and and it was like the dedicated spot for your self tapes, and I was like, yes, because it's like that's going to be your magical spot, because every time you go back there, that little salad whisper might start talking to you again and constantly there. I think that's just such a great bit of advice for anyone who's going into it. And on the other side, you were talking about how you don't know, maybe am I playing too much to the casting? Am I playing not enough to what I feel is true? That's all such trial and error. But at the end of the day, you're being true to yourself, and that's the most important thing. As a person who's cast a ton of projects, it's never, ever, ever. I've never had someone walk out of a room or shut off their self tape and go, "Ugh, that was terrible." We're looking for that person to come in and rock our socks off.
Yeah.
And it might not be the right person based on this incredible myriad of options. And even like as a writer, you're writing it with someone in your brain already. And so this other person is the polar opposite of that person in the brain, and that's why it doesn't work. Or that person is the polar opposite in your brain, and that's why it does work. And that's why, so you giving the writer something to feed off of is almost like the perfect symbiosis between actor and writer, and then final product on the screen.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I'm interested in, because obviously it's been a journey to get you. I mean, my goodness, yes, you've had 2 years of consistent work now, and you're seeing a lot of success, and I'm sure your bank account looks a lot more delicious than it did a few years ago. I'm interested to know, like, how do you feel like the failures because I mean, my gosh, you don't get to this level of success without failures. I'm interested to know, like, how do you think your failures have shaped you or created a path for this?
I mean, failures are like literally every day. I don't even know how to answer that question, because it's like, let's say I get 5 self-tapes a week on a busy week. I mean, it's a miracle if I book one. Like, if let's say I'm booking one a week, even like that's.
Wait, so you're counting?
So
you're counting self-tapes
like
as failures, though? I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about.
No, if I don't book it,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think of it as a failure. I don't know, like bumps in the road, things that you thought might work out that didn't.
I mean, every self-tape I think is going to work
that's
out.
A lot. Holy heavens!
Right,
that's a lot.
I hope, right? The ones that I don't, I'll pass on.
My goodness. So are you taking all of them as like teachable moments, or like what? Like, how are you?
Well, I'm putting my 100% all into every single tape, and I have to, in order to like get the inertia to like get in the shower, do my hair, which is a whole beast.
She has
put my
great hair.
On, get myself in front of that, memorize 10 pages of dialogue. I'm not going to do that thinking like, well, this is not going to be a book. It would be like, oh, like this is going to be, I kind of separate it from the booking, but like at the same time, like all of that energy is going towards the hope that I will eventually get paid for this work.
No, of course. But then, so then are you saying that?
I'm not saying that every single self-tape that I don't book hurts my soul. Right. There are like big ones that hurt, like your show gets canceled, or you test for something and don't book it, and then I just nurse my little sad heart like you would do in a breakup, right?
My gosh, it's so
you're just sad for a little while, and you nurse your little heart, and you tell yourself all the good things about yourself, and you tell yourself what's meant to be won't pass me by, and you feel your feelings, and then you move on to the next thing you're excited about.
Oh my gosh. You have such an incredible tenacity. Like, it's amazing how you're able to do that. Just like take the punch, stand up, dust yourself up, keep going.
It's not cute when I'm like having been punched. I've told you crying so many times. You know that.
I know. But it's
like from the outside, it looks like, oh yeah, you just keep going. In the moment, you're like, I'm done. Like, how many times have I been like, I'm done. I'm done. It's too hard. I'm done.
There's this beautiful thing though you taught me. I mean, it's the saying, and I don't know whether your father said that to you. This notion of just keeping your feet pointed in the right direction. That it's like even if you're you're falling towards that direction of your feet.
Keep checking in to see like where.
Yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing. I mean, that's been like a real sort of metronome for you, hasn't it? Like a kind of marker along the way.
Yeah, if you get, I mean, like that's totally like if you get lost, you look down and see which way your feet are pointed. If your feet are pointed towards partying and hanging out, that's where your feet are pointed towards. If your feet are pointed towards the work and you're falling towards the work, then you're falling towards the work, you know. So just just to check in.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because that's how I was amazed at that. I think when we first met, you had just kind of maybe were just about to quit what was probably your last day job. It was a bartending job.
That was scary.
And, yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I mean, you were fully on taking the leap, and that was always very inspirational to me, for sure. But you had, you've been sober for how many years now?
Almost 10.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
That's such a huge step.
By the way, she did have her last glass of wine with me. I will say that. I'll have that claim. I don't know if that makes me a good or a bad person, but I'm just saying.
Had my last glass of wine and drove home.
Oh gosh.
It was probably half a bottle of wine.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for all of that? And I mean, obviously the tenacity. We all replace an addiction with an addiction, and so
obviously my addiction is like working now.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that.
Yeah. I mean, well, what inspired that? How long do we have? Right? So much inspired that. But I will say that I wasn't happy and I wasn't able to see clearly. And it was derailing not only my happiness, but my goals and my dreams. And my feet were not pointed in the right direction when I was drinking. And I could see that pretty clearly. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the broad strokes of what inspired that. And I wasn't going to do it necessarily forever. I was like, let's see a year, what happens. And then each year it just got better and better.
It's so remarkable, Amanda. It really is. I mean, it's been extraordinary to watch. I mean, I'm jokingly saying, had the last glass of wine with you, but like it's been extraordinary to watch the transformation and just to see how every year it's like I feel like more of you emerges, and that's what's so beautiful about watching your sober journey. It's just it's remarkable. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to watch other people too. I can reflect better when I see other people do it.
I'm sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's such a through line of people that I admire who have taken that leap and that journey. People that are actors, and it really it speaks to, I think, clarifying your purpose in life and also going in that particular direction. I stopped drinking for 2 years for the same reason. I always wanted to go back. I want to conquer moderation, and I think that can be in some ways more difficult.
Yeah, I don't
do all. I really want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've tried for years moderation, and I don't own it. I don't own that mechanism. It's broken.
Mm-hmm. So. That's why you're finding success in this area of your life.
Well, also, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Also, though, for me, it wasn't just about stopping drinking. It was about doing the self-work to figure out why I was drinking. Yeah. So that's a big part of it. And like a lot of that was like, I don't want to feel my feelings. And like, I'm an actor who doesn't want to feel my feelings. How am I supposed to act? So then I had to be feeling my feelings, and then I had to and I'm only sometimes okay feeling my feelings now. So we're not there yet. There's more growth, but and then I had to be okay showing you me feeling my feelings on tape, which is
it's huge.
I mean, it's insane for someone who doesn't like to feel their feelings to decide to be an actor.
It's interesting because it's like I almost feel like it's a soul-driven choice, right? Because it's like your soul wants you to have your full humanity, and your soul kind of knows like this woman is not going to do this unless we make her do it through her work. So it's like it kind of like I don't know. I'd wager your soul did it to you, but it is insane on a human level to look at it and be like, wow, what a choice.
Right, and that's why I think my first kind of major jobs after being sober were comedy, because it's like, okay, well, first we're going to learn how to have the feelings right? And then I can have the feelings, and then I can like cover it up real quick with comedy. And I can have like the deep feelings and like show the pain and all of that, and then like cover it up with a witty saying with sadness in my eyes.
Yeah.
And now I'm just starting to learn to just be with you and let you witness me having feelings.
Man, it's powerful.
So, and that's drama.
It's so powerful. Do you have like obviously sobriety is a huge part, and I mean, I know you've worked the steps and you're active in the programs, but I mean, do you have a method as far as your creativity is concerned? Like, do you bring a method or like a tool? Like, what are your tools that you use to kind of do this?
I mean, I've studied like a lot of different methods, so I would say that like I bring whatever is needed for that part. So whether that's like, you know, I mean, I can throw out some like whether that's like sensory work, because which is like, you know, asking yourself questions about various like senses or memories, and seeing where that leads you, or whether that's, you know, breaking down the character's objective,
right,
or whether that's like finding actions, right, or whether that's like a combination of all of those. I personally love a prescribed recipe, but I work better without one.
You love a prescribed recipe for
everything.
The character?
Like I would love to be like, oh, here's my part. What I do first, I highlight my lines. What I do seconds, I make scene beats. What I do third, I decide what tactics, and I write them on the right-hand corner. Like, that's what I learned in school, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of gets like stale. So, and I would also love to be like, okay, what do I do? Is I find the overall objective, and then I find sensory work in here. And then I write that down in stone on the right-hand corner. I write it all down. Like, I love a prescribed, like, here's how you do it, here's how you do it right, and then you get your A+.
Oh my God.
But what works better is like sometimes having a meltdown, and sometimes like having no idea what you're doing, and just like showing up on set and being like, all right, I'm here. I have no idea what's gonna happen. But I'll trust you, director, or you know what I mean? So that's where the magic happens more for me.
Have you had that happen? Do you have an instance in mind where it was where it was just like either you went in with a plan and director was like, that's not the plan anymore, or when you went in without a plan and everything turned out amazingly, like better than you thought?
Yeah, well, now I'm working on, I'm recurring on a comedy, United States of Al. And I'm at a place with it where I'm comfortable enough to show up without a plan.
That's so cool.
Every time now. Because the way sitcoms work is you do a table read, and then the writers just keep rewriting up until you're shooting. And then even while you're shooting, they're rewriting.
My God.
So you're saying a line and they're coming in with alt lines. So literally you can't, if you have a plan, your plan's going to be derailed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
and that's such a fascinating difference too between playing the character you play in Chicago PD versus United States of Al. It not only style of show, style of person, style of shots.
I learned that through auditioning, because I was auditioning so much that I literally could have in one day I have to be in the Valley and doing a procedural, and then I have to drive to Santa Monica to do a sitcom. I have to change in the car.
Right. So, change everything. Yeah.
Change
that's
my
amazing.
whole persona.
It's so wild.
And so that's how I learned how to do that. And it wasn't even like through like schooling. It was literally through like failing at that so many times.
It's also amazing, like it's amazing to me how you take in the world, because it's like you say that, but it's like it's also because Amanda watches literally she will watch every single television show. It's like, because it's like this is my business, like, and she'll be like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I'm like, how are you watching all of this?
Like, I pretend that it's her, but really, like, I just love watching TV. Like, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks in England, when in 2020 when I went there to do the show I do there, and I couldn't leave my flat.
Yes, it's a flat. That's what we used to call it in South Africa. It's so nice to hear someone say that. I'm like,
I
yes.
know, you still call it that sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay, Josette, it's an apartment. But I couldn't leave my flat for 2 weeks, and I got to watch every British TV show, and I was so happy.
So
Everyone
fun.
felt so bad for me. I mean, people were like sending flowers and food. They're like, we're so sorry. You have to be quarantined for 2 weeks and you can't leave. I was like, I'm in heaven. No one can bug me or make me do anything. Like, no one is bugging me. I'm getting paid to quarantine and like watch TV, and people feel bad for me.
Oh my God, so good.
Anyone makes you do anything, it's against the law.
Exactly.
So I'm staying here.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about those different parts for sure. But going way back to, the beginning for when I first became aware of you, which I know I've told Josette the story, I think, and I think we've talked about it before, Amanda, where, your future husband, Aaron, and I went and saw this little movie called The Beginners at a movie theater in Van Nuys. Or maybe it was like it was Steep Valley, Hot Valley. And I remember watching this movie, and this is years before I met you, before Aaron met you. And it's so specific watching this film. Obviously, Ewan McGregor's amazing, and Christopher Plummer, and it's this deep story. And then here comes this woman on the screen who is just like lit it up. And I was like, well, she's going to be famous. Like, it was just very clear that this person was an actor. Didn't know who it was. It was you.
Yeah,
and I was just like,
here because I was literally, I think I had like 4 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always been fascinated with people in particular in movies who do have like 4 lines, one scene, and they just kill it. And I always go, who's that person? Like, how did they get so comfortable to be in a scene with one of the biggest movie stars of all time and just do a thing?
That was Ewan McGregor. Did that. First of all, I was so excited to be there. Second of all, Ewan McGregor was incredible. Like, he was like having lunch with the extras.
Oh my God.
I remember I was like sitting outside of my trailer, and he came by and like sat down next to me on the stoop and was just like, hey, like just chatting with me. And I think that like that's also how I learned how to and that I wanted the responsibility to be the number 1 on the call sheet, which is, for people who don't know, like the biggest role and or the most famous person usually is number 1 on the call sheet. And then it goes down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 based on how big your role is and or how many credits you have. And generally, like, number 1 is paid more, but also has the most responsibility, first in, last out. And I find that number 1 is so important and integral to the dynamic on set and how the project turns out. Because everyone's looking for number 1 on the call sheet to be acting. So if number 1 on the call sheet is late every time they call action, doesn't know their lines, everyone else is going to also be late, also not know their lines. And if number 1 on the call sheet is cold, everyone else is going to generally like try to act cold to people. And so the way Ewan McGregor acted just as one of the crew made me so comfortable, made everyone else so comfortable. And I just remember like he was like playing with me and like improving a little bit and like just made me feel like so comfortable. Like, it was just so fun. I think most of those lines ended up being improv because, you take your cues off of the person whose movie it is. So I was taking my cues off him, and he was jokey and fun. So then I was able to be jokey and fun.
It makes so much sense.
Like, all him.
That movie had so much magic in it, and I think that what you're describing, obviously, obviously the story was profoundly beautiful, but I think that what you're describing obviously just comes through energetically onto the screen. Like, it's really incredible.
Yeah, and then when I was working on like Trial and Error, I remember Nick D'Augusto, who was, well, technically number 2 on the call sheet because there was always like a big star, but he had the most work. And so I remember him going around and shaking every extra's hand, and I remember being like, "That's cool. Where'd you learn that?" And he was like, "Steve Carell." Because he did a small part in The Office, and Steve Carell would go around and shake everybody's hand and learn a little bit about them. And and credits that to why The Office was such a great success. So we're all just like passing this down, right? Like I just feel like we're all just passing down what we learned from these. And so then like this last year, I got to be number 1 on the call sheet for the first time in my life. And I was like, okay, so this is not about me, right? Like you learn like, this is not about me. This is about being like a captain of the ship with the director. And you're the face of that. When the director is behind the screen, you're the face of that. So when other people come in for like small roles and feel like nervous, like it's your movie, you're the face of it. If they're nervous, like it's going to reflect on you. So like, let's make everyone comfortable. Let's make sure everyone's happy and feeling good, including like hair and makeup people, make sure everyone's feeling safe and comfortable. And like, it's a good working environment because you're first in, last out, you know what's going on.
How are you? I mean, it's a huge, by the way, wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think that what you're pursuing and doing is absolutely required and totally the way it should be. Like, I think it's beautiful that this is the kind of ethos that you're taking onto set and the way you're going about leadership. But I'm interested in like, how are you managing your energy? Because I've always feel like when I've been in those positions, it's like to then like give all the energy to hair and makeup and the people and the this and the that. It's like, and then you still got to keep some for the camera. It's like, how are you managing your energy on a day on set?
That's a really good question. So I'm not an expert at this.
None of us are.
Only done once now as far as the first on the call sheet. But the thing I did, so it was a Christmas movie, and we were in Utah shooting for about 2.5 weeks. And
well, let's plug it.
Like,
what's it called?
A Fiance for Christmas, the life. And so I was in a hotel room, so I didn't have to deal with my day-to-day.
Helps.
And it was insane because I got the part like 2 days before I flew out there, and I'm on every page, so I had to learn all my lines in 2 days and do all the work and all of that. Basically, it just became my life. There were times that like at lunchtime I had to step away and go into my, like everyone was like eating together outside, and I had to leave and go to my trailer to like have a little meditation time and like just a little me time. But for me, like I just know what it takes to keep me going, and I need like 8 or 9 hours of sleep. Yeah. So I just like really focused on that, to be honest. Incredible. Like I can't do it on 5 hours of sleep. So it's better for me to know my lines like even a little bit less well and get the 8 or 9 hours of sleep. So I guess, I mean, it's just all like trying to prioritize what the next thing is. And lean on people where you can, like lean on your director where you can, lean on your hair and makeup where you can.
But it sounds like you're still paying attention. I mean, it's like what you're describing sounds very boundaried. I mean, it sounds like you're still paying attention to like, you know, when you have given too much and then you're saying going and taking a little 10 minutes for yourself. Like, that's really disciplining.
Right, or like I know I need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to like keep going at that level. So like I know that like even if people are trying to like rush me through, like I need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, period. Like I can't be like chatting, you know, someone like kind of corners me and starting to chat with me during lunchtime. I know how to like kind of be like, okay, I'm just shifting over here because I need to actually eat lunch, even though like it feels like this networking is very important. But like what's actually more important than that is like needing lunch.
That's the old bartending skills coming through, probably. You know, you need to learn how to get away from the regular, the chatty regular, the guy, who's like you don't need to make drinks right now. But that's the thing, that energy. That's such a cool like approach, because as we've all been different parts of sets, and we've all been, you know, and as a director, the reason that I'm so exhausted is because yes, the work is exhausting, but it's also exhausting being the captain of the ship and making sure that everybody is happy and comfortable and feels appreciated and loved, because you can see it. I mean, 1,000,000,000% on screen if everyone feels like they are a part of something, and if they don't feel like it.
It's also easier for me because it's so my happy place, and I so spent 10 years trying to like just get on a set for like a second. You know, that like when I'm there, like I feel like high almost still. Like I still feel like high when I get on set. So I'm so happy. Like I'm not jaded from it. Like that's one thing that's like one great thing about working so hard for like 10 years without any major successes is that you really appreciate every moment. So, I mean, even just like going to a costume fitting, like, I'm so happy to do it. Let's go, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. It feels like the child is so alive too. It almost feels like you're taking your kid with you, you know, like the inner child is super like on the journey with you, which is so cool. Like it's amazing that you see her in the way you do. It's beautiful.
Which is so funny also because I have to like now like deal with business stuff, and it's like it's so funny to like have to hold both of those to be like, I'm playing on set, and then it's like, okay, no, let's deal with like the taxes and the payroll and the like, I don't know, the accounting and the oh my god,
wild.
I'll get used to it because I mean we're seeing you're all, I mean it's great. We've got currently, right, Chicago PD, United States Val, and then I guess Code 44 it's running on Peacock, correct?
Guys, Amanda's everywhere.
We're our third season, so that'll be
so great
on Peacock. I don't know when.
So you already shot the third season?
Finished the third season, yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Congratulations. How is it different in shooting in England as opposed to like on a Hollywood?
It's like less glitzy, glamoury, and it's more of like a working man's job. But they also like care less about everything being like prescribed. Like I have more say, like I can just like bring a prop onto set, like from my house, and be like, I'm gonna eat this apple, and they'll be like, okay. Like, I can't do that on the WB lot, really. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel that?
Are you?
Oh, sorry, Matt,
the
go
only?
ahead.
No. Are you the only American on the set usually? Yeah. Oh, that's got to be fun.
Yeah, I know. It's because normally whenever someone has an accent, as Josette knows, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you have an accent! It's so cute." See, say flat. Say flat.
So true.
Say the way Josette says garage. Say garage.
It's so funny because I literally had to learn. I was like, when I was learning my American accent, Amanda actually was responsible for a lot for teaching me how to speak in an American accent. And I was like, how do you say garage? Say it again. She's like, garage. I'm like, garage. It's like, this doesn't feel right.
I mean,
it's so weird.
So funny to me. Like, to be the one who like is saying the things, but it's funny to be on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how Josette says ballet.
Ballet.
Oh yeah, ballet.
What's funny about how I say ballet?
When you say it in a sentence, it sounds like you're saying you're a
belly
dancer.
Oh my God, that's too funny. By the way, way more delightful than classical ballet, for sure.
Or classical belly.
Yeah.
It sounds better. It sounds like it's a better art.
Also, some people have been
form.
lately telling me that I say the word out funny, which is bizarre. I'm like, take the trash out. And everyone's like, you say it so long and posh. I'm like, posh? I'm just saying take the trash out. Like, what are they talking about? Very
That's
weird.
funny.
Very strange.
Yeah.
There's an American way of saying out that's way worse than that. So don't, the northern sort of
sort of
thing that you
boot.
get in there. So you're doing okay. Keep your long version of out.
Yeah.
I'm interested also, but I mean, this difference between England and America and shooting. I mean, do you feel? I mean, that sounds like way more freeing, right? Like to be in that space where you can just bring stuff.
You get paid less.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Well, it's Sky, right? Not BBC.
Oh God! Although I am seeing BBC's lost a bunch of funding, so that ain't going to be so fun either in the future.
BBC, you still get paid over.
Yeah,
it's less. They get less money there, but they're also like constantly working.
But when you're talking about them being like working, like this idea of like the working man type feeling,
a little bit more than here. Like it's like less elevated, a little bit less.
Right.
Elevated.
But then when you're like in a scene, does it feel like they still bring the level of like craft and play and right? It's just
in the scene it feels the same.
Wow.
In the scene you're just communicating in the scene. Yeah, in the scene it always feels, but for me in the scene feels the same on like a no budget movie as it once you're in the scene you're in the scene. It feels the same if you're doing it in a black box rehearsal space for class or a lot. Once I'm in the scene. It's all the stuff that surrounds the scene.
It's interesting though because there still are tropes like I've noticed from being like working in South Africa and like having a little bit in England and then obviously here it's like
Okay, you're an expert.
No, I'm not
on
an
it, you
expert,
know.
for heaven's sake. I'm not an expert on anything.
Yes, you are, for the difference between South Africa and here. I asked you about it, and I remember now that you said basically the same thing as I'm saying
Well,
right
yeah.
now.
I mean, there was no
You get
paid
paid less,
and
but
we
you get a
we
little
shot
bit
way
more,
quicker. I mean, we would shoot like
way quicker, and it's more of like
Yeah.
a working man's
it really is.
job.
There's not a lot of glamour in it. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. The one thing I will say though, across the board, like from country to country, and I'm going to say it with the most serious face I can, is that crew men are still as sexy wherever you go. Badass, sexy ass people.
Well, now their
Oh my
faces are all
god,
covered,
what is
so.
it about crew though? They're just such badasses. I just love it. I'm like, man, it's the best thing. Crew all over the world.
You do
What's
love,
your-
you love yourself a little bit of a crew guy.
Man,
That is your type.
It's a problem.
That's your husband.
It's a problem.
What's your type? Are you like a boom op gal? Are you like a grip guy with his hot hands?
She likes
What's your
the
thing?
tattoos. She likes a little bit of a badass. I always remember the story of her husband when she met him when she was young and she had a crush on him. I'm telling
Oh my
you the
god,
story.
go ahead.
And
This,
in
yeah.
an elevator and he had a tattoo and she was like all like goody two shoes kind of, and he was just like a badass because he had like a tattoo, and he like unscrewed a screw from in the elevator and he was like, want a screw?
I mean, obviously that was like
wow.
an 18-year-old making a joke to a 13-year-old. Yeah. I mean, the like one
Yeah.
true love of my life is Eminem. That's my type. I mean, if Eminem,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it.
Eminem.
That's my man. Don't ever let me meet him though, because I will be rendered completely speechless. I think the only person on the planet who could make me not be able to speak would be Eminem. Anyway, now that we've spoken all about my
well,
crushes,
it's nice too.
Mine is Obama. That's my celebrity crush.
The what?
Obama.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
you
oh.
see.
I thought you said the
Look
womba.
at Amanda going for
know.
such
The-
wholesome
yes, Obama,
deliciousness.
yes.
Look at that. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only hall pass that my husband will
I think
let
it's
me have, because he's like, your other hall pass is like,
I
you'll
think
meet
it's also
them.
probably a good one because Michelle
Yeah.
ain't letting you get anywhere near. So good luck with that. Yeah.
Nowhere near. Yeah.
He's kind of everybody's
Oh my God.
crush. You spend a little bit of time listening to
Yeah.
him talk on a podcast or a
It's
thing
like,
nowadays. You're just like, how did you? Yeah, what is
Yeah.
going on? It's just, yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing though. I used to do a really good Obama impression back in the day, but I'm not going to do it now. I don't want to get anyone hot and bothered, so
Let's
we'll
see.
move on.
Let's see.
Yeah. Well, it used to be sort of like, okay, hang on, I got to get into the headspace of it though. No, I'm not going to be able to do it. I think the best water is LaCroix.
No,
See, it's
I
not
can
really
hear.
there,
I
but
can
it used
hear
to be
it.
there.
I can hear
Yeah,
it.
you got the lilt.
Boys, you're not making your face look like him.
Right.
You have
Well,
to do
I
the
was doing the
face,
hand
too.
though underneath the screen here. I had the hand going. Yeah. What's the face?
Oh.
What's the Obama face?
Yeah. What is the face?
What is
I
the
don't
Obama
know.
face?
Hot.
Oh,
Just an attractive.
Oh
Just confidence.
if you're looking for hot, it ain't
Look, I'm
coming
going to
from over
find a
here, that's
really
for
interesting
sure.
way to segue this because it's like it does actually have a link. I want to talk about purpose, and I think like if anyone has a purpose, it's the Obamas. So like let's go there. I'm interested to know like if you feel like you have a purpose in this lifetime and like how you would define
I mean,
it.
I do feel like I have a purpose, but for me, it's less about defining it as a whole than just like acting in integrity from day to day. Like it overwhelms me to like think about my whole purpose. Am I frozen? Hello?
Yeah, you froze up.
You're back now. You're gonna have to say that again.
Yeah,
though.
you froze up there
Dang.
for a sec.
Am I
That's
back?
Yeah, let's go back to that.
All right, I'll see it again. I've read all of those books, you know, The Purpose-Driven Life and all of that, and like I've made my like mission statement, and I know that I do want to like make the world a better place through my art, and I want to make people feel less alone through my art, and I want to allow people to feel emotions and question beliefs and all of that through my art. I know that, but on a day-to-day, for me, it's more about just like acting in alignment with my integrity through the
That's
day.
beautiful.
Like I don't think about my overall purpose on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. I just think about the decisions that I'm making and it following my internal compass of right and wrong how I want to be interacting.
Well, it's so clear. Even it's so clear that it's an intention, though, because I mean, even the fact that you're willing to talk about your sobriety in public, and the fact that you're willing to share your process in the way you have, even just in this conversation, it's like it's so obvious that is governing your life. It's beautiful. It's really stunning.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, if I can, I'm more of like a one-on-one person. Like, it's the same with the parties, right? Like, I'm not going to enjoy like a huge party, but like I love like a one-on-one dinner. And like, I don't like, preaching to like the masses as much as I like to just like, if someone needs help getting sober, like, let's go immediately. Let's go. I'll help. Those kinds of things fill me up more than like big charity work and all of that stuff. It's the one-on-one stuff for me that fills me up.
It's beautiful.
I think when we're younger, we tend to get a little bit more focused on that big picture, and not necessarily in a good way, not necessarily in a focused way, saying, I want to help everybody and I want to be this big, philanthropist and all these sorts of things. But we never took the time to look at the minutia, the daily steps. It was that thing that you always hear saying, you need to have, macro patience, but micro speed, working as hard as you possibly can every day to accomplish your goal, but being patient with the grand scheme. And while, yes, you want to make a great impact on people, you're focusing on the day-to-day of being the best performer, the best actor that you can be, and that will someday parlay itself into the bigger stuff. But in the meantime, you've impacted a lot of lives along the way, quietly and privately, and that in some ways is a bigger scoreboard than anything.
Such a beautiful lady.
I also get overwhelmed really easily. I know that about myself. So I do better with like one-on-one situations or small groups. So.
Like this.
Yeah, like this is.
But it's interesting even how this is like, I mean, this is legacy creation, right? Like what you're doing right now and how you're speaking with us and sharing your journey and stuff. Like this is part of that anyway. Like it's so cool. It's amazing.
I mean, that's fair, but like in my mind, I'm like a conversation with two friends who I haven't seen in a while.
I know. Been far too long.
Yeah.
So cool.
The last year of not being really able to, or last 2 years almost now, just of not really being able to make those efforts, work. It's like you gotta, if you're gonna be able to see somebody, you gotta see your family or whatever it is. It's put some distance, but in a way, I feel more connected to so many of my friends now because of it, because we've evolved into this Zoom world and all of this sort of stuff, that we can actually have these sorts of conversations and enjoy it, I think, in a way that maybe, and appreciate it more than we would have maybe before.
Oh my God, yeah, completely. Yeah. I feel the same way. And weirdly, even just like the deepening of all of those relationships, like the ones that were meant to fall away, fell away, because it was like, oh, well, those obviously weren't, things that I should be pursuing. But like the meaningful relationships have deepened, which is great. Yeah. I have a last question. I don't know what you feel like, Matt, but I wanted to know. Please. It's a bit of a funny one, but I'm like, I know you're always looking for patterns and things, and you're always like measuring and checking and tracking things, and I'm interested if you have a theory or a thought about like your history in relationship to where you are now. Like if like, how do you think your history has set you up for like what you're bringing into the world creatively or what you're pursuing now?
That's such a huge question.
You don't have to like answer it at a huge level, but well, just like anything. If there's anything that you'd be like, oh wow, like I look at that and I'm like, that makes so much sense, that shit thing I went through, or that I don't know, culture I came from.
Like all of it.
Yeah, how it's informing your work.
All of it informs. I mean, all of it. Nothing exists in a vacuum. So I think it's all building on. I mean, all of it is my answer. I mean, there's more prescribed answers. Like I spent years miserable as a bartender and as a sober bartender, and now I'm playing a bartender on a show.
It's so cool.
And like part of that is like, maybe I booked it because I had all those years, and maybe I can be truthful to it because I had all those years of, I'm playing like a snarky bartender, and I was a snarky bartender. So like, oh, it all works out. Or like, I didn't book the, what was it? It was a soap opera that I really wanted, and then I didn't book it, and I was so sad, but now I'm so grateful that I didn't, because everything works out. And like, I mean, all of it. Nothing is created in a vacuum. So it all leads to each other, and my past has made me what I am today.
It's beautiful. And there's obviously,
Love
like, in
that.
saying something like that, there's obviously no regrets about it, right? Like, you wouldn't go back and change anything or relive a year.
I mean, I could think of some regrets if you task me with that, but is there a point? I can't change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's so great. What is in the pipeline that you can tell us about coming up soon for you, or coming out soon that you?
Well, we've got Code 404 coming out this year. At some point, it's going to come. It drops on Sky first. This is season 3. It drops on Sky first, and then it will drop on Peacock. And then I've got a couple of episodes of United States of Al in the pipeline as well.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have any
That's
like little
exciting.
quick tips or tricks that you kind of have or use to stimulate your creativity? Like, if anyone's looking to live a more creative existence or a more expanded life?
Literally just following the whispers, just getting curious about the
That's
whispers.
beautiful.
The salad
The
whispers.
salad,
salad
whispers.
whispers.
They will forever be known as that. And when are you going to start posting some of your paintings online? That's what I want to know. Amanda's the most beautiful painter, on top of being
I
wildly
haven't really had
talented.
time to paint lately. I haven't really had time to paint lately, but
Well, we look forward to
Paint
it.
Aaron's jump box.
you would love that, wouldn't you?
Oh my God, yes.
What? Give us something real.
But
Yeah.
then I'm gonna be like, stop jumping on my paintings.
Yeah. Why are you jumping on my butterfly?
Yeah.
I love how you pictured butterflies and I pictured like flames going up the side. Like, that's so funny.
That's your
Maybe
Eminem side.
that's it. We should probably
Yeah.
end the conversation before we let her out properly.
Tattooed elevator fixer side of you.
Oh, God.
Well, Amanda, thank you for
my
doing this.
darling.
We had such a good
Yeah,
time.
was great to see
It
you
was so
guys.
good to see you.
Yes, it sure is. It's wonderful to see you. And congratulations again on all this spectacular success. I mean, I'm just so, so proud of
Thank
you.
you. Congratulations on your podcast. This is awesome. I'm excited to listen, and it'll join I love podcasts. So it'll join my
Thank
weekly
you.
podcast.
Yay!
Yes. Well, we wish you all the continued success, and just so excited to see everything that's happening. So this has been great.
Thank you.